Good day, grade 9s. My name is Shanwaz, and I am super excited to be taking you through this part of the tutorial, which is called Cells versus Day-to-Day Life. In this part, I'm going to be teaching you a few associations or making it a little bit easier for you to remember the functions of each part of the cell by associating it with day-to-day examples or examples from real life. And no, I am not talking about this cell. I am actually talking about this cell, which is the basic unit of all life. So let's get to it. The first organelle that I am going to be talking about is the cell membrane. Now, the cell membrane, we call it selectively permeable because it chooses which substances it allows in and out of the cell. And this is very important and maintains the overall cell health, should we say, because it does not allow harmful substances to enter. And this is very similar to a fence that we have around our houses or even a gate. We choose who we let in, and this stops unwanted guests or visitors from entering. At least in South Africa, most times it stops them. Now I'm going to be talking about the cytoplasm. Now the cytoplasm, it is a jelly-like substance that surrounds every other organelle within the cell. We can even compare it maybe to air, because just how air surrounds everything and everyone on Earth, the cytoplasm acts in a similar way within the cell. It surrounds every other organelle. Now, the mitochondria, most likely the most famous organelle of the cell. I am sure you've heard the phrase, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So, and that is actually what it is. The mitochondria supplies energy to the rest of the cell, and it produces energy by something called cellular respiration. You don't need to know too much in depth about cellular respiration at this stage, but if you choose life sciences going forward, you will learn more about this in grade 10. But yeah, the mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell, and you can make an association with your dad because normally the fathers are the ones supplying all the money in the typical household. You go to your dad and you ask for money, or your dad pays all the bills and does a lot of things in the household. So he is like the powerhouse of your household. And just like that, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Next is the most important organelle of the cell, and this is the nucleus. The nucleus, it can also be referred to as the brain of the cell because it controls all the activities within the cell. The nucleus coordinates what comes in and out of the cell, so it sends signals to the cell wall. If the cell needs more energy, it sends signals to the mitochondria to produce more energy. And an association that we can make with the nucleus is our mothers. Usually our mothers are the head of our households. They control everything that's going on. They know where every child is at all times. They know what's happening. They're coordinating all the activities of the family. So yeah, we can just remember the nucleus as the brain of the cell or the mother of a household. The vacuole. The vacuole is what stores water within the cell. In plant cells, they're usually one large vacuole, but in animal cells, there are usually multiple smaller ones. And what this does is it controls the amount of water within the cell, and it is a storage for water. We can also associate this maybe with a pool, just like how pools, or even a dam. Both of them store water. A vacuole does the exact same thing, just in a much, much smaller capacity. So, that was the last organelle, and so now that we have covered most of the organelles of the cell, here's a little activity where you are going to give the names of the following organelles. The organelles are going to appear on the left hand side of your screen, and I will give you a hint along the way that will help you find the name. So I will give you what it is associated with, and I would like you to try and find the name. So this is the first organelle, and it plays a large role in photosynthesis. The second organelle is also known as the powerhouse of the cell, and it's usually associated with a dad. The third organelle is the most important organelle in the cell. It's known as the brains of the cell, and sometimes we associate it with our mothers. The next organelle is a storage organelle. It helps sometimes to maintain the shape of a cell, but usually, predominantly, it stores water. The next organelle, this is usually associated with air, but it is a jelly-like substance. And finally, the last organelle. This organelle is selectively permeable and is sometimes associated with a fence or a security gate. If you do not have the names for all of the organelles yet, please pause this video because I am going to be showing the answers on the screen now. The first organelle is the cytoplast, then it is the mitochondrion. Interesting fact, mitochondrion is singular and mitochondria is the plural. So if we're referring to one single mitochondrion, we will say it's mitochondrion, but if we're referring to many mitochondrion, we'll say mitochondria. The next organelle is the nucleus, then it is the vacuole, then it is the cytoplasm, and lastly, it is the cell membrane. This is the last activity from my side, and here you're just going to be filling in the missing blanks. The answers are in the slides, so you are more than welcome to pause the video and rewind if you need additional help here. Anyway, that's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope this helped. Please try and remember the day-to-day examples and associations, as this will greatly help you during a test or exam where you have to recall the names and the functions of each part.
Okay, grade 9, let us recap what Mr. Essop taught you. What is a cell? A cell is the smallest living organism and it grows to form different organisms. We are talking about things such as plants, insects, animals, and even us as human beings. Inside these cells, there are tiny parts. They have specialized tasks which we call functions. They work together, and together we call these the organelles. This is how a cell looks like. In the next part of this video, we will discuss the different organelles in which the cell contains. This is a cell membrane. It is the outermost part of an animal cell, and in plant cells, we first have a cell wall and then a cell membrane. It protects the cell, it controls what comes in and goes out of the cell through small openings that we call the pores. In animal cells, it is the first layer, and in plant cells, as I've said, it is the second layer following the cell wall. Firstly, we have the cell membrane. This protects the cell. It controls what goes in and out of the cell through tiny openings that we call the pores. In animal cells, it is the first layer. In plant cells, it is, however, the second layer, following another layer that makes the shape rigid and encloses the plant cell, and we call this layer the cell wall. Next, we have a jelly-like fluid or substance. This is a substance in which the organelles float in. We call this the cytoplasm. Then we have the mitochondrion. It is a powerhouse of the cell. It provides energy for the cell by breaking down glucose in a process that we call cellular respiration. When we have one of these, we call it a mitochondrion. However, if we have multiple of them, we call them the mitochondria. The nucleus is the best part of the cell because it acts like the brains of the cell by controlling all functions and conduct in which the cell engages in, or in simpler terms, it controls everything that takes place within the cell. Then we have the storehouses of the cells. We call these the vacuoles. They store water and nutrients for the cell. Animals have small and most likely multiple vacuoles, but plants have one large vacuole. Next, we have an organelle that is significant to the plant cell. It is a site whereby photosynthesis takes place, which is a process where plants produce their own food. It is also responsible for the green pigmentation of plants and leaves. By other words, it is responsible to give plants their green color. Lastly, I want you to take a minute to think about this question carefully. Take a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen where you will write the answer that you think is most appropriate or most correct. How do you think cells impact us as human beings, or how do cells impact the environment in which we live? Write your answer on a piece of paper and it will be displayed in a few seconds on the screen.